This week, AI stopped feeling like a chatbot race. It started feeling like a power struggle. Claude just got access to SpaceX compute. Google is preparing a new Gemini agent before I.O. The US government is now getting early access to unreleased AI models. Companies are openly restructuring around AI. Wall Street is getting ready to run Claude agents. OpenAI is turning Codex and GPT-5.5 into a full computer worker. And underneath all of it, the real war is no longer just models, it is GPUs, electricity, data centers, regulation, jobs, distribution. And who gets to control the agent that runs your work? So in this video, I want to show you the 8 AI stories from this week that look separate, but are actually one connected story. By the end, you will understand why everyone is suddenly moving so fast. First, Claude just got the one thing every AI company is fighting for: compute. On May 6th, Anthropic announced a new partnership with SpaceX. The headline was simple: Claude code usage limits are going up. The 5-hour limits for Pro, Max Team, and seat-based enterprise plans are doubling. Peak hour limit reductions are being removed for Pro and Max, and Opus API rate limits are being raised. For normal users, that sounds like a product update. For anyone watching the AI race closely, it is much bigger. Anthropic says the SpaceX deal gives it access to all compute capacity at the Colossus 1 data center. More than 300 megawatts, more than 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs. And Anthropic says this capacity directly improves Claude Pro and Claude Max. That means your rate limit is not just a pricing decision, it is a data center decision. When Claude code runs out in the middle of a refactor, that is not because the model forgot how to code. It is because intelligence now has a supply chain, chips, power cooling, networking land, and someone willing to rent the capacity. The interesting part is the SpaceX name. Elon Musk has XAI has growth, and now SpaceX compute is helping Anthropic increase Claude capacity. That is why this story is so clickable, but also genuinely important. The AI war is becoming weirdly intertwined. Competitors are not just competing on models, they are trading access to the physical machine underneath intelligence. And Anthropic even said it is interested in working with SpaceX on multiple gigawatts of orbital AI compute. Read that again slowly. Orbital AI compute. We are now at the point where the bottleneck for better AI might involve putting compute in space. Second, the US government is now becoming part of the launch process. On May 5th, NIST announced that CASI, the Center for AI Standards and Innovation, signed new agreements with Google DeepMind, Microsoft, and XAI. The purpose is pre-deployment evaluation. That means the government can evaluate frontier models before they are publicly available. And this builds on existing partnerships with OpenAI and Anthropic. So if you zoom out, the 5 biggest frontier AI players are now inside some version of the same testing framework. Anthropic, Google DeepMind, Microsoft XAI. The official reason is national security. CASI says it wants to better assess frontier AI capabilities and advance AI security. The agency says it has already completed more than 40 evaluations, including state-of-the-art models that remain unreleased. That sentence is the story. There are models the public has not used yet, but government evaluators may already be testing them. This is not just safety theater. These labs can provide models with reduced or removed safeguards so evaluators can test national security risks more directly. Think about what that implies. The launch of a new frontier model is becoming less like dropping a new app and more like launching aerospace software or nuclear adjacent infrastructure. Before the public sees it, governments want to know what it can do, and the timing matters. The models are becoming agentic. They can browse, they can code, they can use software, they can run long workflows, they can help with cyber tasks. They can reason over biology and finance. So the question is no longer, can this model write a good poem? The question is, can this model become operational power in the hands of a company, a government, or an attacker? That is why this second story connects directly to the first one. Once AI requires massive infrastructure, and once it can act across tools, it stops being just a product category. It becomes a national capability. Third, Google looks like it is preparing its own answer to the agent war. Google I/O is scheduled for May 19th and 20th. Officially, Google is highlighting keynotes, developer sessions, AI Studio Anti-Gravity, Chrome, Android, and agent-first workflows. But the more interesting story is what is being reported around Gemini. Google is reportedly testing a proactive Gemini assistant called Remy. The idea is not just another chatbot. The idea is a Gemini layer that understands your context, monitors what matters, and helps complete tasks. If that sounds familiar, it should. OpenAI is pushing Codex toward computer use. Anthropic has Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and plugins. Perplexity has been pushing the browser agent direction. And Google has the one distribution advantage nobody else has: Android, Gmail, Chrome, Search, Calendar, Docs, Maps, YouTube, Workspace. If Google gets agents right, it does not need to convince you to install a separate workflow. The workflow is already where you live. That is why the I/O timing matters. Google spent years looking like it had the ingredients but not the product shape. Gemini was everywhere, but not always decisive. Now the question is whether Google can turn Gemini into the assistant people thought Google Assistant was going to become. Not an answer machine, a worker that notices, plans, and acts. This is also why creators and developers should pay attention. If Google announces a real agent layer at I/O, the content opportunity is massive. Every person will ask the same thing. What can it actually do for me? Can it book? Can it email? Can it research? Can it build? Can it work inside Chrome? Can it connect to my Google Apps? Can it replace the messy automation stack people built with Zapier, browser agents, and AI copilots? That is the coming battle. OpenAI wants ChatGPT to become your work app. Anthropic wants Claude to become your serious work partner. Google wants Gemini to become the ambient assistant across your entire digital life. Fourth, AI is becoming the public explanation for layoffs. This is the topic people will feel immediately. Coinbase announced a major cut, about 14% of its staff, while talking about AI, native operations, and a flatter organization. Freshworks also announced job cuts while focusing more heavily on AI, and across tech, more companies are using the same language. AI native teams, AI first operations, managers as player coaches, smaller teams with more leverage, employees who can manage fleets of agents. The uncomfortable part is that some of this is real and some of it is cover. AI is genuinely changing what one person can do. A strong operator with cloud code, Codex, spreadsheets, browser agents, and automation can produce work that used to require a larger team. But companies also know AI is a convenience story. If a business overhired, missed targets, or wants to protect margins, saying we are restructuring for AI sounds more future-facing than saying we are cutting costs. That is why this story is dangerous to simplify. It is not true that AI has already replaced every laid-off person. But it is also not true that nothing is changing. The real shift is organizational. Companies are redesigning teams around the assumption that a smaller number of people can direct AI systems. That changes hiring. It changes promotion. It changes what a junior employee is expected to know. It changes what managers value. And this is exactly why the AI agent stories matter. If Claude Code gets more capacity, if Codex becomes better at computer use, if Google ships a proactive Gemini agent, and if finance teams get ready to run Claude agents, then the CEO does not need to imagine AI productivity anymore. They can point at it. That is what makes this week feel like a line was crossed. AI is not only being sold as a tool for employees, it is being sold as a reason to redesign the company around fewer employees. Fifth, Claude is moving straight into Wall Street work. On May 5th, Anthropic announced agents for financial services, not a vague promise. 10 ready to run agent templates, pitch builder, meeting preparer, earnings reviewer, model builder, market researcher, valuation reviewer, general ledger reconciler, month-end closer, statement auditor, KYC screener. Those are not cute demo tasks. Those are the actual workflows that eat time inside banks, funds, insurance companies, and finance teams. Anthropic says each template packages skills, connectors, and subagents. That matters because it means the product is not just one chat window. It is a reference architecture for a task. The agent knows the instructions. It can connect to governed data, and it can call smaller subagents for pieces of the workflow, like selecting comparables or checking methodology. This is the direction enterprise AI was always going to take. Nobody in a bank wants a blank chatbot that says, "How can I help you today?" They want a pitch book agent, a KYC agent, a close the books agent, a statement audit agent, evaluation review agent. And Anthropic also says Claude works across Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and Outlook through Microsoft 365 add-ins. That is the important part. Finance work does not live in one app. It lives across spreadsheets, decks, emails, filings, data rooms, and compliance systems. If the AI cannot move across those surfaces, it stays a toy. So when Anthropic ships finance agents, the story is not only that Claude can help analysts. The story is that AI labs are packaging labor into repeatable workflows. That is why junior knowledge work is under pressure. The work that is repetitive, document heavy, spreadsheet heavy, and review heavy is exactly where agent templates make sense first. Coding was the preview. Finance may be the enterprise proof. Sixth, OpenAI and Anthropic are not just selling models anymore. They are moving into the deployment layer. Anthropic announced a new enterprise AI services company with Blackstone, Hellman & Friedman, and Goldman Sachs. The company will work with mid-sized businesses to bring Claude into core operations. Anthropic applied AI engineers will work with the new firm to find high-impact workflows, build custom systems, and support customers over time. That sounds like consulting, and that is the point. For years, the big question in AI was which model is smarter. Now the question is who can actually deploy it inside a messy company. Because the gap between a benchmark and a business result is huge. A model can be incredible, but a company still has old software, weird approval flows, security constraints, sensitive data, compliance rules, employees who do not trust the tool, and managers who do not know where to start. That gap is where consultants live. So when Anthropic builds an enterprise AI services company with major financial partners, it is not just competing with OpenAI. It is also moving toward the territory of Accenture, Deloitte, McKinsey, BCG, and every systems integrator that makes money turning technology into operations. OpenAI is moving in the same direction. Its enterprise update says enterprise is already more than 40% of revenue and on track to reach parity with consumer by the end of 2026. It says Codex has hit 3 million weekly active developers, and it talks about frontier alliances with consulting and cloud partners. This is where the AI money is going, not only subscriptions, deployment. The labs do not want to be model vendors sitting behind someone else's workflow. They want to own the path from model to business process. That is why this story matters for builders. The next wave of opportunity is not only making AI content or using AI tools. It is knowing how to actually install agent workflows inside a business. That is a service, that is a product. That is a consulting offer. And it is exactly where small creators and operators can still move faster than big firms. 7th, OpenAI is turning ChatGPT and Codex into a computer worker. GPT-5.5 was released on April 23rd. OpenAI says the gains are especially strong in agentic coding, computer use, knowledge work, and early scientific research. That combination matters. Coding alone is powerful, computer use is different. Computer use means the model can operate software, navigate tools, check its work, and keep moving through a messy task. GPT 5.5 is positioned as a model that can take a multi-part job and carry more of it itself. Then connect that to the Codex update. OpenAI says Codex can now operate your computer alongside you. It can see, click, and type with its own cursor. Multiple agents can work on a Mac in parallel. It has an in-app browser. It can generate and iterate on images. It can remember preferences and learn from previous actions. And OpenAI added more than 90 plugins for tools like GitLab, CircleCI, CodeRabbit, Microsoft Suite, Neon Remotion Render, and more. That is not just a coding tool. That is OpenAI building an agent workspace. The model is getting smarter. The app is getting closer to your computer. The plugins are connecting it to your tools. The browser lets it inspect and iterate. Memory lets it carry preferences over time. This is why I keep saying the word worker. The winning AI product is not the one that gives the best single answer. It is the one that can take an outcome and move across the tools required to finish it. Write the code, test the app, open the browser, check the UI, make the image, update the document, fix the bug, read the spreadsheet, create the slide, leave artifacts behind. That is the super app direction. And it explains why OpenAI cares so much about Codex. If ChatGPT is the front door, Codex is where the agent starts doing real work. 8th, the entire AI race is becoming an infrastructure race. OpenAI's Stargate update makes this very clear. OpenAI says Stargate is its long-term effort to build the compute foundation for AGI. It says the original goal was to secure 10 gigawatts of AI infrastructure in the United States by 2029. And just over a year later, OpenAI says it has already surpassed that milestone, with more than 3 gigawatts added in the last 90 days alone. That number is absurd. This is no longer a normal software scale-up. This is energy, construction, chips, networking, cooling, local politics, workforce, water systems, and cloud partnerships. OpenAI also says GPT 5.5 was trained at its Stargate site in Abilene, Texas, running on Oracle Cloud infrastructure and NVIDIA GB200 systems. So when you use GPT 5.5, you are not only using a model, you are using a city, scale supply chain, and this connects back to Anthropic's SpaceX deal. Claude needed more capacity, so Anthropic got access to more than 300 megawatts and 220,000 GPUs. OpenAI is expanding Stargate. Google has TPUs and cloud infrastructure. Microsoft has Azure, xAI has Colossus, Amazon has Trainium. The model race is now inseparable from the power race. The smartest model does not win if nobody can serve it. The cheapest model does not win if it hits capacity at the moment customers need it. The best agent does not win if it cannot run long enough to finish the work. This is why rate limits, pricing, and product availability are not random. They are symptoms of infrastructure. And that is the big lesson from all 8 stories. AI is moving from demo to deployment, from chat to agents, from benchmarks to workflows, from software to infrastructure, from tools for employees to systems that change the shape of companies. So what should you do with this? Do not try to follow every announcement as trivia. Watch the pattern. Who gets compute? Who gets distribution? Who gets government trust? Who gets enterprise workflows? Who gets the data? Who gets installed inside the company before everyone else? That is where the next winners are being decided. This week gave us the map. Claude got more compute. The government got pre-release access. Google is preparing an agent push. Companies are restructuring around AI. Finance agents are becoming package labor. AI labs are moving into deployment services. OpenAI is building the worker layer. And Stargate shows that the whole thing depends on power. That is not 8 separate stories. That is one story. AI is no longer just something you ask questions to. It is becoming the layer that runs work. And the people who understand that shift early will have a very unfair advantage. If you want the practical version of this, subscribe to Ada with AI. I am tracking which AI tools are hype, which ones actually work, and how builders can turn them into leverage before everyone else catches up.